When you think of strategy RPGs, big name titles like Fire Emblem, Disgaea, and Final Fantasy Tactics all come to mind. But over the years, there has been a smaller series that's been trying to throw its hat in that same ring. And that series is known as the Mercenaries Saga. And with their newest title, Mercenaries Rebirth, Call the Wild Lynx out. Are they still going in the right direction, or is this where they start to fall off? Let's find out. We start out as a man named Ivan who has just returned home to visit a gravesite in his kingdom when suddenly he hears a commotion and decides to investigate. Only to discover that 3 people are being harassed by bandits. Ivan steps in and helps defend them, and finds out later that it was the princess that he was defending who's currently on the run from her stepmother that's trying to have her killed. After the encounter, the princess decides to hire Ivan as a mercenary to protect the group. Ivan agrees and decides to try and hide them in plain sight by forming a mercenary group known as the Wild Lynx. The story here can start off a little slow, but picks up quick and becomes actually quite enjoyable. There's even a choice you make at the midpoint that splits up the story on 2 different paths. As the characters, some shine brighter than the others, and I would have liked to see a little more development for some of them, but other than that, overall it was a solid cast. Mercenaries shines with its combat gameplay. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but more fine-tunes it, with crisp tactics and AI. It calls for you to plan your attacks and know when to back up, regroup, and buff. Back attacks always do more damage, but you have to weigh the risk since the enemies always have their own backs covered with another enemy ready to attack you in the back if you go for that back. And that's a good example of tactics. The enemy AI is some of the best I've seen in gaming lately. Knowing when to block you off so you can't rush to revive your best DPS, or knowing when to force your tank to back up so they can go down and blow up your healer. Mercenaries returns with its own take on the job system by keeping with the class system, which is still pretty cool, but in the next one I would like to have the ability to maybe pick my own job and not be forced to kind of pick through a tree. The pixel art here is the best in the series by far. Circle has really stepped up their game this time around and really enhanced the art style, and it shows. I couldn't stop gawking at how great it looked compared to the older ones. Sadly, this game is not voiced yet still, but that's okay because the soundtrack does a great job, with intense fast-paced music when you're fighting against a lot of enemies to a more ominous feel when on night missions. Mercenaries Rebirth, Call the Wild Lynx is a great example of how a game should improve on each entry of a series, always fixing and upgrading what's needed to make it a fresh and better experience. I couldn't highly recommend it enough. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. If you like this video, why don't you go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Thank you once again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Trotty out.